I've lived a short time, not long so far. Still a short life. About half my life is used up right now. And
that's pretty optimistic, Jimmy.
It is. I don't smoke cigarettes. And I'm a very moderate alcohol drinker.
Okay.
And pot cures cancer.
Okay.
So I'm all set. But I do worry a lot. I think that might put me in. Anyway, what I'm talking about here is in my lifetime, I've seen this pattern over and over. The powers that be, all of a sudden out of nowhere, like they found a boogeyman. They found an enemy that is posing an existential threat to us right now. And we got to hurry up and spend a lot of money fighting them. Now, it was first started for me in the 80s when Ronald Reagan wanted to fight the Sandinistas, and we wanted to back the Contras. He had to give money to the Contras to go fight these communists, Sandinistas, and the big thing was they could drive their car here. Remember that? They could drive their car to the United States from Central America. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They would say that. They could drive their car here. So I was like, wow, that's pretty scary. And then just not too long after that, was the first Gulf War, and the new boogeyman was Saddam Hussein. And I don't know if you remember this, Graham, but they had women testifying in front of Congress to how bad the Iraqi soldiers were. And they said stories about Iraqi soldiers came into Kuwait and went into nursing hospitals, picked babies out of incubators and threw them on the ground. Oh, my God, we have to go in there. We have to go to Kuwait. Turned out that was those women were being, that woman who said that was on the take. She was being paid. Her father was an ambassador. It was all blah, blah, blah. And it was all made up. But, oh, my God, we went in there, didn't we? And then after Saddam Hussein was bad, then there was a new boogeyman, which was the Al-Qaeda. Oh, my God, they're the worst ever. They're crazy.
The worst of the worst sent to Guantanamo, right?
Suicide bombers. Oh, yeah. We've got to take them there. Then after Al-Qaeda, then it was Saddam Hussein again. We had to go in. Saddam Hussein's worse than the Nazis. Yeah. He's worse than Al-Qaeda. He's worse than everybody.
Forget the incubators. He's got rape rooms.
He's got rape rooms. That's right.
Let's not forget, too, that he was our ally.
Right.
In the 80s.
That's right.
We backed him in the Iraq-Iran war.
It's like, how do you know he has those weapons? We looked at the receipt, right? That's the old joke, right? That's the
we
old
all
joke.
Dated a lot of girls we regret.
Yeah, that's right. So then, after Al-Qaeda, and then Saddam again, which was Hitler, the worst ever. Now there's someone even worse than all those people. 10 years later, there's someone even worse. It's called ISIS. They're so bad. They do things that no one else would ever do. I don't know. I thought, we had the kamikazes. They were suicide bombers. We had the Nazis. They put people, women, children, kids in ovens. I don't think anybody could be worse than that. But now then we got Saddam. We got the Sandinistas. We got the Al-Qaeda. Now we got ISIS. And it just seems like it's one endless line of fear-mongering. And I'll tell you, so how do you start a war? Well, first, you get the president to come out and say that, because if you remember, he wanted to go into Syria before. About a year ago, maybe a little longer than over a year ago, he wanted to go into Syria. And because they were doing chemical weapons. You can't, even though they had already been killing their own people by the tens of thousands, all of a sudden they killed a couple hundred people with chemicals, and all of a sudden we have to start bombing. That's how we're going to fix this problem. We're going to bomb. So we stopped them, and they came out with a new way to get us to bomb Syria. So I'm sure the CIA went and somehow invented ISIS, just like they invented the Al-Qaeda. You know, the Al-Qaeda is a CIA invention, right? You know that we invented Al-Qaeda, and so now, so Al-Qaeda is our friend sometimes. Sometimes they're our enemy. Right now, Al-Qaeda is our friend. That's right. Al-Qaeda is on our side fighting against ISIS. Son of a bitch. How could we be working with people worse than the Nazis? How could we be doing that? But we are. And here's Barack Obama came out just the other night. And where's the threat coming from now?
At this moment, the greatest threats come from the Middle East and North Africa.
Oh, the greatest threats. There's a lot of other ones, but the greatest ones come from the Middle East. Hasn't that threat been coming from the Middle East ever since we went into the Gulf War, 1990? What was that, 92, 91?
91.
So now, but Barack has to explain to me how these guys, they have to be scarier than the Al-Qaeda because we're not scared of them anymore. We're not scared of Saddam. We're not scared. We got to find, what are these guys? Are these guys worse than the rest of them, Barack? And on cue, Barack Obama.
These terrorists are unique in their brutality. They execute captured prisoners. They kill children. They enslave, rape, and force women into marriage. They threaten the religious minority with genocide. And in acts of barbarism, they took the lives of two American journalists, Jim Foley and Stephen Sotloff.
Well, I think we should spend at least a couple of $1 billion. Don't you think? I think we should immediately spend a couple. Can't we fix this with some $1 million bombs, some $500 million bombs or something? I mean, this has got to be something. But wait a minute. Maybe it'll cost too much. Can we get in? How many troops will it take? You know what I mean? All we have to do is just go back to war in the Middle East and it'll be all fixed.
Right.
Everything will be perfect. All we need to do is go back, right? Graham, go back to Iraq. I mean, we just got out of Iraq after, 9 years or something. But
we've only been in Afghanistan for 13 years.
Yeah, I mean.
It's our longest war.
Lucky 13.
It's lucky in Italy. So, 13, that's right.
That's right.
You know what? You never find the Afghan war in a casino elevator, I'll tell you that, though, because there's no 13. There's no 13.
I know that they were talking about there's controversy about having boots on the ground, but how about Puss in Boots?
Oh, Puss in Boots on the ground. So we got the general telling us how easy it would be. We've been pushing back. Now, 9,000, we got a couple of battalions. So that, but what really, the people, American people are war weary, and they only go for something short of an easy win. You got anything like that behind the counter? You got an easy win behind the counter?
We could destroy ISIS in 90 days.
Oh, I'll take the 90-day war. That's
that's what the first Gulf War was. 100. We got that wrapped up in 100 days. Remember?
That was nothing to it.
The first Gulf War ended in 2003 and then again in 2011. I'm sorry, the second Gulf War. Who are we hearing
This is
from?
Lieutenant General Tom McHenry.
Okay.
Yes, Lieutenant General Tom McHenry. So great, I'll take the 90-day war, and you can keep your Syria drought relief. Right? Because that's what started this war, was a drought directly connected to global warming, climate change. Syria put out a call to the UN, can you please help us with this drought? The UN said, go pound sand, wait till you guys have a civil war, and then we'll bomb you. And that's what's happening. So, here, he's got some more to say, this general.
If we wanted to. The beheadings that we have just witnessed are clear indications by ISIS to the American people, we are not afraid of you, we are coming after you. This is a very, very dangerous warning that we're getting, and America should upgrade our alert status to DEFCON 1. We've never done it before, but beware, America. They are coming after us.
Wow, that's nice of Fox News to offer some sane and sober military analysis by a guy who escaped from an Ed Wood movie.
So they're coming after us because they beheaded 2 Americans. Did they capture these guys in Akron?
No, I think they got them right in the middle of Mesopotamia.
Yeah, they were already there. There's really no indication that they're coming after us, and that's really almost the most significant point. No evidence. None.
No evidence that they're coming.
None that they're coming after us. They're not really a threat to us now. They're a very. I mean,
the only threat that they pose is the threat that terrorism has been posing now for a while, which is okay. It happened at Boston a year ago. Over a year ago. Like that's there. That's there. It's always been there. It's been there since
Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah, really. There's homegrown.
The Unabomber.
Very many homegrown lunatics.
How about the guy who was blowing up who went and hid in the North Carolina forest?
Eric Rudolph.
I mean,
lots of domestic terrorism.
Yeah.
Chris Christie.
The NRA.
The NRA.
Are domestic war profiteers. Mm-hmm. So where is the battle cry for them?
But even different, that's all true, but even different from Al-Qaeda, which had a clear mandate that they wanted to strike America. There isn't that here. And in fact, in the video of the barbaric videos of the beheadings,
what do they say?
They say, because you're here.
Yes.
Because you're here, not we're going to strike you there. So there is, and in fact, finally this way, a really good AP story this week saying hold on, slow down. They probably have 20,000 guys. That's it. They are vastly outnumbered by the Syrian army and Iraqi army. Vastly, vastly outnumbered. But we have got caught up in this because these guys are skilled at social media. These guys have sold us a bill of goods about how powerful and strong they are. And I'm not minimizing them. They're serious threats there. But they have played us, and it makes me feel like we are doing precisely what they want us to do.
I'll tell you, I was reading right before the show an interesting.
Yeah, no kidding.
I got an iPhone 5, bitches.
Okay.
I was reading a post from a fan of mine who was in Iraq. He was an Iraq vet. I think because I've gone over there, performed several times, and his post. He was like, look, I've served over there. I sometimes force is necessary. He goes, but I'm concerned that these guys use YouTube to get the president to just knee jerk, Now, this is not he's not some liberal dude. You know, this is a guy who signed up for the military, did several tours.
General Smedley.
You know, I'm sure he owns guns for hunting and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, so all ISIS needs to do is a couple of YouTube videos and we're going to commit all of this?
Yes, exactly, Graham.
Wait.
Exactly.
Wait a second. ISIS, let's point out a few things. ISIS has managed to take two of the largest cities in the country of Iraq.
Right.
Take them. They own them.
Correct.
Second of all, a lot of this pressure is coming from British intelligence who are like, there are a lot of English-speaking guys who are carrying European passports who could easily find their way back into Europe. That's where a lot of the pressure in terms of terrorism is coming.
Well, wait a minute.
This isn't like joke stuff. They took two cities.
But
there's actual threat here.
Yeah.
But Robert, they've taken two cities, roughly a third of Iraq and roughly a third of Syria is what they control. But we know how many guys they have, and they don't have very many guys. Those guys are incredibly well disciplined, and they're incredibly loyal to their command, unlike the Syrian army and totally unlike the Iraqi army, who could give a shit about anything.
Right.
And they got like 85 tanks. They got a bunch of armored vehicles. They are not a giant mechanized force yet. And
No, but they've managed to mix terrorism and tactics in terms of melting into the population and making themselves impenetrable without causing incredible casualties in terms of the civilians.
So the reason why they're able to embed themselves with the civilians is because the Sunni population in Iraq was screwed over by the Shia government of Maliki, and that's how we kept the Arab uprising. That's how we kept them, the Sunni uprising. That's how we kept them calm, is we paid them off and we got them, and we promised them to be involved in the government. Maliki didn't involve them. That's also what helped lead to ISIS' birth, right?
That's absolutely
because
true.
what got rid of ISIS is the fact that the Sunnis in Iraq were against ISIS too, but now, since they've been screwed over by Maliki and the Shia government, now they're sympathetic to ISIS, right? So we need to turn that back around, and that's what they're doing. That's why they got rid of Maliki, right? And they're trying to become an inclusive government in Iraq. I don't think that's going to happen.
And we
What
can't.
we should have done was split the country up into three parts when we could have did it, and we didn't. So right now you're seeing it naturally split up into three parts: a Sunni part, a Shia part, and a Kurd part. That's because by the way, why did they have those two cities in Iraq? Because the Shia don't give a shit about that part of Iraq, because that's not their part of Iraq. They only care about their part of Iraq, the Shia part, right? So that's why they got to have those cities, because they're Sunni cities to begin with, so they don't care.
And the Kurd, you got to understand too, the Kurd issue. Kurdistan, they've been wanting sovereignty for a while, and we're in this very sticky situation with Turkey, because Turkey is one of the few quote unquote
Democracies.
good Muslim countries.
Barely.
Yeah.
And so it's why we've never leaned on Turkey to fess up to the Armenian genocide. We can't do that. We can't say, hey, you slaughtered a bunch of Armenians back during World War I time. We can't force them to do that. And as much as the Kurds, this is just my personal experience. I did shows in some of the Kurdish regions, and at every base in Iraq and Afghanistan, they have locals who work on base. The shows in Kurdistan were the only shows where the locals watched the show and came up and got autographs from us, because a lot of them spoke English. So they were so down with us, and yet we can't. The right thing would be go, Kurds, you guys get your own country. Like you say, split it up into three places, and then we could back them. And then, Robert, you bring up good points that we are making jokes, but ISIS has gotten control of a dam.
And by the way, they went towards Kurdistan.
Sure,
they headed
of course.
towards Kurdistan.
Yeah, because a lot of the other, they don't like them. But the thing where I think we all should, as a nation, should question, and this is a good dialogue to have, is because all the things that Obama listed last night as these are the things they've done wrong. There's fucking terrorists in the Philippines, and you know what I mean? Like, there's groups doing this everywhere.
Let me just say that if you're going to start listing evil things that people do and us reacting to it, it is the biggest waste of time, because you know how many evil people there are in the world that we don't attack?
Right. Oh, yeah.
That would be incredibly. I mean, Africa alone.
Right.
Yeah.
We could keep special forces in business forever.
Yes.
Okay. You know, and everything he said about ISIS is stuff that Al-Shabaab has been doing. And Boko Haram has been doing consistently for the last several years. So they're not unique. ISIS is not unique. But
Have you had the Al-Shabaab with green curry?
oh, have you? Every morning I have cocoa sharams. But the point I'm making is that it's a ridiculous argument that he laid out, but it's also ridiculous to say ISIS doesn't pose a threat. They absolutely.
Well,
pose
let me
a
just say this.
Robert, you know what? I totally disagree. I don't think they pose a threat to us at all. They are far down the list. They got 20,000 guys. You want to bomb them a little bit and give the time for the Peshmerga to be as strong as they can to protect Kurdistan and build up the Iraqi army a little bit. That's fine. They are not a threat. There's no indication they want to attack us. They're one of the people who don't want to attack us. So
If I just say this, Ben, if we crap our pants and act out of fear every time Islamic militants act like Islamic militants, we're going to inspire any stupid upstart jihadi group looking to prove themselves by forcing America's hand to do the same things. Now, all someone's got to do is grab a couple Americans, behead them on YouTube, and we got to start fucking bombing people. So this is what I'm talking about. We're reacting. The reason why they cut that guy's head off on YouTube was so that we would then react out of fear. And that's what terror is. They terrorize you, so now you act out of terror. That's what we're doing. The news media, wow, they could not wait to act out of terror.
The American news media.
And by the way, you know, they love to go, oh, these guys have passports or European and American passports. But I'm like, they're not supposed to be able to get us. Isn't that why we wait 3 hours in line at the airports and take off our shoes and get felt up by security? Because even if you have a passport, you still can't get to us. Isn't that why we do that? Isn't that why I have to take my shoes off and have a airport worker give me an X-ray? Isn't that why I do that? So that's what they go, oh, they got their passports. So how is bombing in the middle of the Middle East going to help them at an airport when they're trying to get on with a passport? Those two are incongruent when you say...
We've been bombing them this whole time. All he did was talk about it more specifically.
No, you are correct.
And let's also be clear, it's not an offensive move that Obama's making. What he's doing is containment.
Yes.
And making sure that they can't make inroads in other parts of Iraq and Syria.
But he is going into Syria. This is their way to bomb Syria. So because they want to get rid of Assad.
We're the second largest oil producer.
Saudi Arabia wants to get rid of Assad. Israel wants to get rid of Assad.
But Jimmy,
they all want to get rid of Assad.
We're not going to bomb Assad. I mean, and then what? Then these guys will take over.
Exactly.
We would every single member of the American government would rather have Assad than these guys.
Ben, they are, but what they're doing is they're not going to back Assad, right? So Barack Obama can't back Assad. He wanted to bomb him last year. So what he's doing is he's going to give support, literally give money and military aid to the Free Syrian Army that's fighting against Assad. So he wants to get rid of Assad.
I know, and all I'm saying is, we're all going to agree here, I think. Good luck finding a way to bomb just the right people in Syria and none of the wrong people.
And by the way, he was already giving money and aid and special forces and all kinds of things to the Free Syrian Army to start with.
Yes, you are correct.
You know, I like to look at this whole situation on the bright side. I think, you know, we all have to look at it. It's like it's a new jobs program.
Yeah. And can I say this to the people who are freaked out by beheadings? You should know that that's what they do in the Middle East almost every week, okay? By the way, the Shias that are now fighting against the ISIS, there are also reports of them beheading people left and right over there. So the people on our side are now doing beheadings, too. That's what they do over there.
Our biggest ally in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, beheaded something like 31 people in August.
There you go. So again, that's what I mean, that's made up. That because they're beheading us, and then when Chris Matthews goes on television, because could not be more freaked out by beheadings. We played it last week on the show, and every time Chris Matthews gets hysterical, like a grandma with dementia seeing a black medical attendant, or this Lieutenant General oddball oddity toiling the doomsday bells on TV, it tells the terrorists that their techniques are working.
Right.
And by the way, what's much more terrifying is stoning, which also happens in the Middle East.
To women who are unfaithful to their husbands.
I know.
In Iran.
And the only reason why they don't show that on YouTube is because it's bad television. It just takes too long.
And if they did that, if they showed that widespread of all of our Muslim allies that did that, we'd all go, oh, they're all goddamn evil.
Yes. Yes.
Which the other thing too, I do want to talk about the American media because I was just traveling abroad. I was in Japan.
You keep
They're
saying
called,
that.
They're called women.
They're go- it was so amazing to me to watch. I watched like the BBC and I watched I think Asia News Now because I was in Hong Kong and Japan and some cities in China. And the way they cover the stories, there'll just be a little graphic that says ISIS, and they talk about it and interview people. And then I was watching CNN last night. ISIS scare. Like it's like
it's a video game?
Like it's a video game. It's unbelievable. And I'm not even including Fox. They're their own crazy
Yes.
shit. Just CNN or MSNBC.
Yes, they love it.
The big graphics and the scare, and it's just like
War, can I tell you, war makes good ratings.
Of course.
War sells newspapers, nor war gets ratings, especially for CNN.
When I would like these, like the great thing would be, for the last serious point I promise I will ever make on this program, but if the bombings could work, if we knew that it would stop these guys, and I don't want to totally disagree with Robert, they're a threat. They're terrible guys, right? They're particularly, and if we could bomb them while our allies buffed up so that they could fight them, and that there were this great coalition of Saudi Arabia coming together, and we could fight them in Syria without supporting Assad, and that the new Abadi government in Iraq would reach out to the Sunnis, but these things won't happen. Like, it's literally like Obama is betting that we're going to bomb and it's going to be an 8-team parlay, which we're going to hit, and we're going to win every one of them. But we won't because you never win them.
Well, can I just to play devil's advocate here? You can argue though the bombing has helped.
Well,
you push them back.
What the bombing can do is create space. What they call create space. So then,
What I used to call Lebensraum.
yes, Lebensraum. So then, but what you need is the cooperation of the Sunnis.
Right, you need actual armies in place to then jump.
The reason why ISIS can exist is because the local Sunnis who aren't ISIS are sympathetic to them now because they got screwed over by the Maliki government and the Shia government in Iraq. So what we need is to create space. Bombing will create space, but that's not going to keep the space.
And if look, we're all in agreement, I guess. Then if we could bomb for 66 days and create a lot of space and then stop, and that would be the end of that. Well, then okay.
I'd be against it. I'm against anything over there. I don't think we should be there at all. I think as long as my wife has 40 kids in her classroom, we can't afford another $1 billion dropped in the Middle East. And by the way, that never comes up. No one. I haven't heard it anywhere in any discussion of how are we going to pay for this? We got 2 Americans. They cut their. How are we going to? We got to go to war. How are we going to? I mean, if you wanted to start a war, you're like, hey, we got to go into Syria. Oh, let's say they had chemical weapons. Hey, the country sniffed us out. They won't let us go to war in Syria. All right, well, let's say there's some guys worse than Al Qaeda. Well, how do we make them think they're worse than Al Qaeda? Let's do some beheadings. How many? I think 2 will do it. And that's what did it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you start playing that game. You look at the over $1 trillion we spent on these 2 wars over the last 13 years.
Well,
what could
$3 trillion if you count all the medical bills and stuff that we have to take care of the soldiers when they come home. So it's over $3 trillion. So just the cost of the media cost is over $1 trillion.
What could we have done with that? We'd have high-speed rail everywhere.
Everywhere.
You know what I mean? We could have 20 kids in a classroom.
I could have a medical center on every corner.
Yeah.
Yes.
The show would have a fucking TriCaster.
I'd have a TriCaster
Right.
and
A lot of
2
good things.
microphones that
I'd
work.
be getting laid.
Ah!